It is the very first Tuesday of August 2026. Karibu sana, 4th of August. It is a day that's filled with a lot of news and kuna mtu alala ndani. Yes, Mukurweini MP Kaguchia spent the night in police custody after being arrested following a show at a different TV station, and he is accused of incitement and threatening voters. What will happen to him? He spent the night at Kamukunji police station despite a court order for his release on cash bail. That's one of the biggest stories today, plus Azimio is back and we'll be looking at that later on. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. Karibu sana. How hot is your coffee?
Absolutely. A lot is happening today and we'll be happy to bring you up to speed with all that. My name is Annie Odida. Karibu sana. Let's take a look at the state of the weather. All right, let's see how the weather's looking like this morning. And we start off in Laikipia County. Light rains expected today, 14 degrees this morning, highs of 24 degrees. It's a partly sunny day in Bungoma today, 18 degrees this morning, highs of 26. Kisii, it's raining, 16 degrees this morning, highs of 24 degrees today. That's as far as Laikipia, Bungoma and Kisii counties are concerned. It's a mostly sunny day in Kwale, 21 degrees this morning, highs of 28 degrees. Light rains expected in Siaya County, 18 degrees this morning, highs of 26 degrees today in Siaya. And finally, Kiambu County, it's a mostly cloudy day, 14 degrees this morning, highs of 20 degrees expected in Kiambu County today, and that's the state of the weather.
Inspiration this morning with a quote of the day.
Your dreams weren't built for their comfort. Break the mold, color outside lines, and live a life that reflects your truth.
All right, in the meantime, do interact with us through our socials. TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. On X, it's TV47 Digital, and you can use our personal handles. Mine is at Annie_Odida.
Mine is at Freddy Ndimuli.
Use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast, hashtag Story Ni Yetu. Let's come back and take a look at the local and regional dailies in depth.
All right, a grand coalition in the making. That's a big headline in the front page of the Standard. And the Standard does something here. Ameandika one term.
What?
Apo in red. Yeah, on the front page.
Yeah.
On the explainer, ameanza one term. A meeting convened by former President Uhuru Kenyatta and held at Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's SKM Command Center yesterday bore the hallmarks of a grand opposition coalition taking shape ahead of next year's general election. After admitting 3 new parties into the Azimio la Umoja coalition and opening its doors to more like-minded outfits, the Uhuru-led coalition has stepped up efforts to broaden its national support. With Edwin Sifuna's Linda Mwananchi and Rigathi Gachagua's DCP among those being courted, the drive to field a united front and make President William Ruto a one-term leader is gathering momentum, evoking memories of the NARC wave that swept to power in 2002. This has been covered on pages 6 and 7. And they have now a layout of some of the leaders involved in this. On the front page, of course, Uhuru Kenyatta, the leader of the Azimio coalition. There at the center. I don't know. You know, after the 2022 elections, there was a huge exodus led by Martha Karua. Back then, chama yake ilikuwa inaitwa something else. They moved out of Azimio. Now she formed PLP. Now she's still being seen as a part of the Azimio architecture. Kalonzo Musyoka, of course, who had been made leader of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition, there with his party WPF. Rigathi Gachagua and DCP are yet to make a statement on this. Yeah. Charity Ngilu with the SDP Fred Matiang'i with Jubilee, of course. Fred Matiang'i is the deputy party leader, Jubilee. His party leader is Uhuru Kenyatta, so definitely he has to go that way. DAP-K has also expressed intention to join. Linda Mwananchi are still silent on this. So Grand Coalition in the making. Are we reading too much too early? And is this the involvement that they've kept saying that Uhuru Kenyatta is behind this? Uhuru Kenyatta is behind this. Finally, Uhuru Kenyatta and his Azimio la Umoja coalition show up. I remember, and it's interesting that today one of our panelists will be the Embakasi North MP James Kaguchia. When there were attempts to revive Azimio la Umoja, he dismissed this totally. And he said that is something they would never be part of as DCP. To him, even if discussions are going on, he is not a part of it and he does not support this. It will be interesting to find out what his opinion would be on this grand scheme. So that's the main story, political story on the front page. Of course, the other big story is the arrest of John Kaguchia, which features on page 4. Kaguchia arrest stars a fresh war on political speech and selective justice. That's the argument. Many people say, okay, fine, even if Kaguchia is on the wrong and he has been arrested, why don't you arrest all these others who've made comments similar or at least deemed insightful? Yeah. There was one cabinet secretary who said he cannot even appear before NCIC, before others appear. So if this one is being arrested, can he be arrested also? Is that what they're saying? So selective justice is one of the big discussion points when it comes to the arrest of John Kaguchia. He spent the night, Monday night or Sunday night at a media station. Then the second night now he spends at a police cell. Maisha yake imekuwa ngumu. Just be careful about what you say out there. Just be careful. You don't need. I saw another elder from a different community.
Yeah. That one too.
Telling people that they, from that region, that they will be cast if they don't follow a certain political dispensation. Yeah. And I'm wondering, okay, so what happens to my independent conscience? When do I get to think for myself? If it is politicians or elders who are going to tell me this is how you're going to do it, and if you don't, there'll be consequences. So questions are many. I remember our editorial comment yesterday was about that. Are we just here to be told how to do it, how to vote, where to go, which way to face, how to think? Really? This is 2026. Will you tell the Gen Z how to think? You know, even in your house as a parent, I'm a parent to a Gen Z. Actually, too. You can't tell them how to think. You can't tell them anything. So elders saying they're going to curse you, or politicians telling you they're going to do something to you. Will you listen to them? So in as far as politics is concerned, those are the main stories, Azimio and Kaguchia. Other stories, Uhuru move as opposition seeks to deliver another 2002 moment. That's the spread on 6 and 7, the politics that's on the front page. The story I've seen here. Land feud, chain of events leading to Mutiso's death. This is a killing. A bitter land dispute, alleged death threats, and earlier attempted shooting, and the alleged movement of the slain psychologist's vehicle have emerged as key lines of inquiry in the investigation into Dr. Victoria Ndhunya Mutiso's murder, as detectives probe what they believe was a planned killing. A mother and son were arraigned yesterday, and they're there pictured, lawyer Chris Mulwa and his mother Rose Mbithe Ndetei in court after their arrest in psychologist Dr. Victoria Mutiso's murder probe. So that's a story that many Kenyans are following closely, away from the politics. Other stories that are being discussed, I've seen matters health. 5.3 billion shillings worth of medicines were wasted in 5 years. This is according to a study by the Ministry of Health. Yeah, including COVID medication. And then, second largest Ebola outbreak, nears 4,000 cases. So far, tumeambiwa Kenya hakuna any case. Uganda has been declared Ebola free, but the DRC, the outbreak in Budibugyo, Ebola outbreak is edging towards another grim milestone, with confirmed infections now fewer than 300 cases away from reaching 4,000. Yeah, ikipita 4,000, it will be a record. Right. Those are the main stories on the front pages. Vision 2030. Now, this is the discussion around vision and going forward, Vision 2060. So the Standard on page 10 has talked about Vision 2030. Can Kenya build a new blueprint on an old and finished one? That's the main question that, okay, we still have questions about Vision 2030. So why are we thinking about a new vision? Yet we've not even achieved what we envisioned for ourselves. How many years ago? Quite a number of years ago, almost 19, 20 years ago. Why Vision 2030 missed Kenya's 10% growth goal is also another story on page 11. So a lot of discussions around that proposal. Not really proposal. It's actually a pronouncement by the president that we're going to have a national conversation leading to a new vision. On the back page, Matter Sports. It's down to prayers as under-20 event comes calling in the USA. Now, remember, we're done with the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. We're also done with WAFCON. Yesterday, the Starlets lost 2-0 to Algeria, meaning we've lost all our games played. We lost 4-0 to Morocco. We lost 1-0 to Senegal. And we lost 2-0 to Algeria, meaning that the Starlets have lost all the games at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. So they're coming back home. Probably we look into the future. Now, Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland also came to an end. Kenya got a medal haul of about 12 medals. We now look forward to the next tournament. So now it is down to prayers as under-20 event comes calling in the US. This is the world's leading teenage distance runners racing for medals across 8 disciplines at the World Athletics Under-20 Championships in Oregon. So that's the next focus for our sportsmen and women. All right. That's the Standard this morning.
Tuangalie gazeti la Taifa Leo. Azimio ya lenga Gachagua, hiyo ndio habari kuu katika ukurasa wa mbele ya gazeti hili. Anasema kwamba muungano wa Azimio la Umoja wa Kenya umeanza mchakato wa kujijenga upya kuelekea uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2027 kwa kuvikaribisha vyama vipya na kuanzisha mazungumzo na makundi ya kisiasa yanayoongozwa na aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua na seneta wa Nairobi Edwin Sifuna. Wakiongozwa kwa njia ya mtandao na rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta, viongozi hao walikubaliana kufanyia muungano huo mabadiliko makubwa. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa pili, kwamba viongozi wa muungano huo walisema watazungumza na chama cha DCP na vuguvugu la Linda Mwananchi. Vidokezo zaidi ni habari nyingine hapa ya Music Festival, tamasha ya muziki ambayo imeingia siku ya pili katika chuo kikuu cha Kibabii. Bima ya afya kwa watalii yapingwa mahakamani, wadau wasema hitaji hilo litafungia wageni wengi nje. Habari hii iko katika ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti hili. Right, wanasema kwamba serikali sasa inakabiliwa na kesi mahakamani kupinga agizo jipya linalowataka wageni wote wanaoingia Kenya kuwa na bima ya afya ya usafiri. Habari hiyo ya Kaguchia imezungumziwa katika ukurasa wa 4. Kaguchia atetewa na upinzani. Mbunge huyo Mukurweini alikamatwa jana kufuatia matamshi yake tata. Tuju azidiwa na masaibu. Mnada mara ya pili kutekelezwa mwezi huu ukilenga kuuza jumba lake la kifahari Karen. Na kule juu zaidi on the top strip, chuma cha Infantino kimotoni, presha mashirikisho ya soko ya Ulaya yakitaka rais huyo wa FIFA ajiuzulu. Na on the back page wamezungumzia WAFCON, hesabu ngumu za Tanzania kufuzu robo finali. So Tanzania bado wako WAFCON. Right, that's Taifa Leo.
All right. Tukiangazia masuala ya siasa ambayo yamepewa kipaumbele kwenye magazeti ya leo, twende moja kwa moja hadi gazeti la People Daily. The People Daily talks about 10 counties that will decide Kenya's next president. That's the big headline on the front page. They are Nairobi, which has 2.7 million, Kiambu, which has 2.4 million voters. Nakuru comes third with 1.9 million. Meru, almost 1 million. So is Kakamega. Then counties like Machakos, 700,000. So is Bungoma. Then we go to Kisii, 700,000 as well. Mombasa, 700,000. And Murang'a, 600,000. These are the counties that, according to the People Daily, will decide the next president. If you go into the inside pages of the People Daily today, they talk about these being battlegrounds. Observers identify about 10 counties as a key electoral battlegrounds because of their large voter population. These numbers were given by the IEBC. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission projects continued growth in voter numbers across these strategic regions, Western Kenya's 5 counties of Kakamega, Bungoma, Busia, Trans Nzoia and Vihiga are projected to have about 3.36 million registered voters by next year. Luo Nyanza's 4 counties, Kisumu, Siaya, Homa Bay and Migori, are expected to account for about 2.78 million voters, while the broader Mount Kenya region, comprising 10 counties, is projected to register about 7.4 million. I've seen this debate online about who has the numbers where. But according to the IEBC, these are the projections. They say that President William Ruto is expected to retain strong support across much of the Rift Valley and parts of Luo Nyanza. So 10 counties there. There's another story there that I'm sure we will be talking about, and this has to do with the arrests and the continued existence of hate speech. It's also on page 5 of the People Daily. Bodies unveil multi-agency crackdown on hate speech. A coalition of constitutional commissions, security agencies and electoral regulators has unveiled a new multi-agency framework to crack down on hate speech, ethnic incitement and political intimidation ahead of the 2027 general election. Wako wengi tu hapo: NCIC, Registrar of Political Parties, National Police Service, DCI, IEBC. Do you think that there will be of any consequence? What we've seen so far? Many people have been summoned to appear before the NCIC. They haven't. Wanasema skuji kama ule mwingine haji. They've arrested one. So far, at least, is still in custody. That's a Mukurweini MP, John Kaguchia. But beyond that, have you seen any action? Do you believe that IEBC coming together with NCIC, DCI will do anything? And as far as hate speech and ethnic incitement before next year?
Well, let's hope that it will do something. Let's hope.
For those who are optimistic, yeah, hope is a good thing. That's the People Daily today.
All right, tuangalie Daily Nation. They make mention of Uhuru's Azimio reaching out to Gachagua and Sifuna camps, but that is not the main story on the front page. They talk about Shah mystery firm paying 1.2 billion, or paid 1.2 billion shillings. The dispute, the uproar by hospitals over a 2% deduction from their total claims paid by Shah is now the subject of a court case, with petitioners seeking orders to halt the controversial charges by a private firm. Documents filed in court by 3 petitioners who have named Health Cabinet Secretary Edwin Duale among the respondents by virtue of his office state that FinSprint Limited had received 1.2 billion shillings by July 1st, 2026. Official records show the firm incorporated on July 12, 2020 has 2 directors and another company whose address is not provided as its controlling shareholder. And this story is on page 4 and 5. Petitioners say the government has ignored queries on the deductions. Shah mystery firm paid 1.2 billion shillings. That's the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation. On the inside pages, they make mention of music festival, societal issues, main theme at music festival. PS here says learners continue to demonstrate relevance of creative arts in tackling contemporary issues. Crisis persists as unions demand devolved units be stripped of health function. Health workers are still on strike. And that story is on page 2. The chairperson, Kuko, says here that the government already set aside the money for UHC workers. Up to this day, they have no idea why counties have refused to do what they're supposed to do. That is the story on page 3. New retirement policy will spark mass lecturer layoffs. US warns that some professors who will be affected have specialized knowledge that can't easily be replaced. From TV studio to police cell, Kaguchia's long night. Yeah, leaders and lawyers call for Health CS Duale's arrest, and that story is on page 7. NCAC forms teams to fight intolerance as elections approach. That's also another story on page 7. On the back page, toughest stats yet for Gor in quest for regional clubs title. Sekafa Club Championships, home team Rayon faced South Sudan side in semis, and the Kenya champions play favourites Al Hilal from Sudan in the first semi-final from 4 p.m. today. That's the Daily Nation.
Right. From the Daily Nation, let's focus on the Standard. Today being a Tuesday, the Star newspaper, the fresh independent paper being a Tuesday, it is not for sale. It has this big headline about Kenya leading Africa in milk yield as meat exports rise by 87%. Egypt has been relegated to second place. Dairy exports have almost tripled. So that's the story on pages 4 and 5. The spread, they say Kenya now leads Africa in milk production. As meat exports rise 87%, dairy exports have risen sharply from 5 billion to 14.2 billion. That's almost triple. While the value of formerly marketed milk has continued to grow. Hey, okay, this is a positive story. On the front page, you can read on pages 4 and 5 of this paper. There's an exclusive story about a chief anti-HIV campaigner who's seeing a clear path to vaccine, and Kenya's role is in it. So those who are interested in a vaccine for HIV, its story is on page 2. Top HIV expert sees path to vaccine. Yeah, he says he's now optimistic about potential vaccine than ever before. This is IAVI President and CEO Dr. Mark Feinberg. You can read more on that on page 2. All right, pale kwingine, threat to unity, Sifuna's political rise to upset opposition pecking order as polls draw clear. This is something we've been discussing. It's a theme that has remained relevant for the past 2 weeks with the continued rise of prominence of Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna. All right, back page of this paper, Manoa's big gamble, new coach. This is local football, Homeboys, Kakamega Homeboys. Manoa's big gamble, new coach sounds title warning as revamped Kakamega Homeboys chase glory. It's about local football league. Interesting. Teams are preparing for the resumption of football leagues globally, and Kenya too is not being left behind. So yes, this paper comes with the MyGov pullout for government jobs and tenders. Grab yourself a copy for free. Fresh, independent, different, The Star.
Yeah. Business Daily, Nairobi Security Exchange rises above 4 trillion shillings milestone for first time. And Business Daily have maintained this headline. We talked about it yesterday as well, that investor wealth at NSE has crossed 4 trillion shillings for the first time in the wake of a sustained rally in blue chip share prices and the recent entry of KPC, that is the Kenya Pipeline Company and Family Bank. And this story is on page 2. Airtel and Safaricom locked in business wallet price war. That Airtel yesterday launched a product to rival Safaricom's Pochi la Biashara, triggering a price war that has cut the cost of customer transfers to micro business wallets to zero. That's also captured on page 2 of the Business Daily. On the ticker, Bank CBK rate holding amid Middle East uncertainty. They say commercial banks expect the CBK to keep its benchmark rate unchanged at 8.75% at its policy meeting next week amid ongoing uncertainty in the Middle East. And Tuju's second current property set for auction. That's also captured on page 6 of the Business Daily. And that's the Business Daily this morning.
Right. Let's cross over to regional papers, and we start off in Uganda because the Daily Monitor is now back, so it's much easier to find papers from there. And on the Daily Monitor today, the main story is on how justice caught up with Magara killers. The 84-page judgment delivered yesterday, Justice Alex Ajiji found 9 individuals guilty of kidnapping businesswoman Susan Magara with intent to obtain a hefty ransom before murdering her in cold blood. That story is on page 4. So they were found guilty of this. New Vision, huwa wanachelewa, but I can manage to get a glimpse of what they have on the front page. And they're quoting President Yoweri Museveni. Museveni warns rogues in security. He says torture is not part of the NRM ideology. That's on the front page of the New Vision. Yeah, we don't have an e-copy for you though. If we move to the south of Kenya and go to Tanzania, tuangazie gazeti la The Citizen. So on the front page of The Citizen, they talk about $1 trillion dream gets 24 pledges. Government and private sector have agreed on 24 measures to boost investment, accelerate Vision 2050, theirs is 2050 implementation, create jobs, expand industries, and support Tanzania's ambition of achieving a $1 trillion economy by 2050. That's their vision. Yeah. Then they've discussed it and they're clear about it. Vision 2050. Yeah. Probably giving us impetus to discuss our Vision 2060 as well. Africa on alert as strongest El Nino since 1950 looms. That's a thing that, interestingly, on our dailies, we are not seeing any stories on El Nino, despite the fact that the weatherman has already warned that do expect El Nino, and this time it will come with very heavy winds. That's what they say. So according to this paper in Tanzania, it will be the strongest El Nino since 1950. Gazeti la Mwananchi tukisalia kule Bongo, Samia ataka sekta binafsi iwe bunifu, asisitiza serikali kuendelea kuboresha sheria na sera kuvutiwa zaidi uwekezaji. TPSF yataka mifumo imara, sekta binafsi iwe kipaumbele. Ni mashauri tu na maongeo kuhusu safari ya dira ya 2050 mwaka 2050 kule Tanzania. Dira ya Kenya ni ya mwaka 2060. Dira ndio vision. Every day you learn a new word. Right. Chadema yaja na masharti ya maridhiano, chama cha upinzani kule Tanzania, pia kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Those are the dailies, local and regional. Let's come back and take a look at the cartoons this morning. We start with the most political, and I think that's the Daily Nation. The cartoon on the Daily Nation talks about Azimio. So Kalonzo Musyoka was a party leader of Azimio, or the leader of that coalition. He's caricatured here as driving a vehicle that has no seats or anything, and has a new battery. So ameweka battery mwenyewe imemfungulia yeye. They're jump starting this car. The wheels have already left the vehicle. Gari imebaki huko nyuma na Matiangi. Lakini Azimio imewekwa battery mpya, imetoka mbio na inavuruta kule nyuma. Yeah, the resumption of Azimio discussions and who they can pull into that discussion. This will be a main discussion going forward.
The one on the Star still maintains the same angle. Linda Kalonzo, they say, that will all these leaders now back Kalonzo Musyoka?
You know, it's interesting. You see the other group looking in. That's the broad-based team.
Yeah.
So it looks like this team in the opposition are a bit apprehensive about those people and how they are looking at Kalonzo. So the plan now is Linda Kalonzo. Remember, the broad-based team has already indicated that they would work with Kalonzo. Yeah. And someone, I think on the papers today, you was it you who talked about the deputy president saying Kalonzo is not that big? It is in the papers today. We'll be looking at that as well. Yeah. Anyway, matters politics. Yes, the Standard. Yesterday, on the front page of the Standard, was talk about this Electoral Laws Amendment Act 2026, where, according to the paper, it said there was a proposal to scrap the live streaming of the election results, and that this amendment had been sponsored by Senate Majority Leader. So the Senate Majority Leader here, Aaron Cheruiyot, is caricatured carrying a bag of with tools, the election amendments bill, na amebeba ile E from IEBC, sasa baki IBC, not IEBC. Commentator anasema ni mchezo wa tauni. So is there really a plan to scrap off the live transmission of election results come 2027? Is it contained in that bill? And if at all there's such a proposal, what do you make of it? Yeah. Finally,
Stano's take on Vision 2030, as of course it concludes, corruption is building this thing. The glowing Vision 2030. This wall is talking about our aspiration to, of course, become prosperous, a middle-income country. Lakini corruption is what is leading us.
Yeah. So do you think corruption won't be there if at all we move to a new vision? It is our standard vision.
Well, Kompetita kwa hapa anashangaa kweli kweli.
Yeah. So is it time for us to forget about 2030? Remember, 2030 is 4 years away. Still a lot can be done in those 4 years. We shouldn't just say we failed on Vision 2030. Probably there's something we can do between now and then. Yeah. But anyway, interesting. Just a reminder that for these cartoons and the dailies, the front pages will form part of our discussion today. State of the Nation. James Kaguchia, MP Embakasi North, will be with us alongside Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi Central, and Wakili Joshua Kipto. Do stand by for that. Later on, we'll be having a discussion about media and democracy heading towards 2007, and for that we'll be having the Director Media Training and Development at the Media Council of Kenya, Victor Bwire. And being a Tuesday, matters innovation. Revolutionizing food and nutrition through tech will be a discussion this Tuesday. We're having some innovators who have come up with some solutions. A smart urban farmer, a nutritionist, dietitian, and innovator in studio. Very interesting conversation coming your way later on. Before we take a break, let's take a look at the weather situation on the major roads in Nairobi. All right, traffic building up on major highways. This is the eastern bypass from Utawala, building up on sections here and there, but moving nonetheless all the way to the City Cabanas interchange joining Mombasa Road. So, hiyo ni kawaida yao. Thika Road, today Thika Road is not so bad. Just a bit of traffic at Githurai heading towards town. Then at Kasarani, just a bit of traffic after Kasarani interchange before you get to Garden City Mall. But not so much, not so bad as we used to. Then moving traffic all the way from KCA University heading towards the Pangani interchange. The Pangani interchange today, interestingly, is looking a bit easy. Not so bad, meaning guys coming from Kiambu Road are having it easier getting onto Murang'a Road or the Wangari Maathai Road. Nimesema Mathare? Wangari Maathai Road. Jogoo Road iko wapi? Jogoo Road, nothing new. Makadara, Shauri Moyo, building up but moving. Also today along that Machakos stretch Mudhurwa, there's a bit of traffic building up getting towards Haile Selassie, which is busy on both sides between the Railways roundabout and the Landis Road roundabout, getting into the CBD. Other major highways, I'm looking at Mombasa Road all the way from Lolongo, nothing to report. Even Mombasa Road, ile ya chini, ground floor. Sio mbaya sana, just a bit of traffic on the entrance and exits into the expressway. It's still early, so nothing much to report from there. Wayaki Way, heading into town from the ABC Place all the way to a museum interchange, nothing to worry about. A bit of traffic on Ngong Road. Sections of Ngong Road have quite some traffic, especially on the interchanges or the cross junctions at Hekima University there, at Prestige Plaza, and of course at that City Mortuary roundabout. Other than that, it's typical Tuesday traffic with a bit of relief on Thika Road today. So continue interacting with us on our social media pages. TV47 Digital is our page, is our handle on X. On Facebook, it's TV47 Kenya, on Instagram as well, and even on YouTube where we're streaming live. Remember to use the hashtag TV47 Breakfast, hashtag Story Yetu. You can tag us on our personal handles. Mine is at Freddy Ndimule.
My handle is at Annie_Odida. See you after the break.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning.
You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimewekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Nikikunyuma.
Oh my God. You left me.
Nitumie ni live. Uko nje kuna wifi.
Why? High five?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tamulini kero umeka kwa beauty product.
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
We won't entertain divas. No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. Booyah! We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on TV 47. Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is a very serious place.
I see that.
Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair.
It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV 47.
Nairobi, where the hustle never sleeps and neither do the scammers.
Link Up, we are talking about something that's affecting all of us. We are talking trust.
We're diving into the campus life.
Stay fresh, stay safe.
Stay linked up.
My father used to tell me that our hotel is the home for travelers. I guess I forgot that. Recently, it's been more of a mirror of my own ambition. Booyah! We might fail. We will probably fail, but not for a lack of trying. So for the last time, and the first time, welcome to Connect In, the best experience in Eastern Central Africa and its environs.
This is a very serious place.
I see that.
Surely. Hey, Nyumba.
This is the place.
Just for a few days.
Rule number 2.
Kwani Google inajua maisha yangu wewe?
That's my seat.
It's a chair.
It was hers.
You're new here?
Yes.
You learned the rhythm.
This place is run by structure. Structure.
It is a system. Ni venye tu ni system haisikizi.
And what happens if something you haven't chosen enters your day?
I remove it.
That's not always going to be possible here.
Then you are going to have a problem.
Noted.
What are you planning? To escape from a resort?
This is not a resort, my friend. This is a storage.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
Na leo mko rada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yaani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona, kiki ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo inaitwa commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Mpatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu, hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako?
Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho ya kesho ya tomorrow.
Hiyo tena. Mzee ni budi nikenichoka.
Ni budi ni madeni.
Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m.
You have to be very careful. Fake money can kill business.
Na leo mko rada yangu.
Small money, kapesa kadogo, big behavior.
I only have big notes.
Alikuwa anatafuta courage.
Yani nafaje kutengeneza kachumbari na manyanya zinakaa hivi? Ona, hiki ni kama kiwaru.
Hiyo inaitwa commitment to the lie. Amejicommit.
Ndio hiyo. Mpatie.
Unajua kama una mtu kitu, hata tu salamu ya kawaida inakaa kama reminder.
Habari yako?
Sintalipa kesho.
Kesho gani when?
Si kesho.
And we're back. Good morning once again and welcome back. This is TV47 Breakfast. Time for us to take a look at the big discussions today. One member of parliament, Mukurweini's John Kaguchia, spent the night in police custody. Only one night after spending another night at a media house. Those are 2 nights in a row. And this is because police were after him over remarks he made at a political rally in Kieni constituency on Saturday, where he spoke in Kikuyu and reportedly warned Mount Kenya residents against supporting President William Ruto's re-election, stating that those who voted for him would encounter some consequences, which is deemed as a threat to voters. That's where we want to begin this conversation today. Critics insist that this is selective justice, the arrest of this member of parliament, many calling for the arrest of other people who are deemed to have committed even bigger atrocities, still linked to matters incitement or electoral threats. And for this discussion this morning, we're privileged to have with us James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North. Karibu sana Bwana Gakuya.
Thank you.
And Joe Mutambu, former MP Mwingi Central. Karibu sana Bwana Mutambu. Bwana Gakuya, I saw you yesterday at the DCI. I'm sure you had gone there in solidarity with your colleague, Bwana John Kaguchia. But the statements he made, if any other person would have made them from any other place, they would be deemed insightful, they would be deemed as a threat to voters. Do you agree that politicians are walking at very tightrope, that it is very easy to cross the line and to say something probably on a political platform that would be deemed to actually be an electoral offense?
Thank you, Dimuri. Allow me to salute you as well as watching this morning show. Coming to the matter, selective approach of law. Matter to do with the arrest of Honorable Kaguchia, to me, are very selective, because we have inflammatory statements previously made by even senior politicians and even government officers. Last week we had matters uttered by CS Ndwale towards insulting a particular community by the name hyenas. And nobody dared to know whether he insulted anybody. Number two, we had previously a Secretary General of UDA, Omari, also insulting a particular community, and nobody took in action. We had those kind of inflammatories made by Sudi, made by member for Baringo, and nobody is taking any interest over the matter. But when you cross the line and you are not part of the government, then you cross the red line. And that is what got to the...
So you do agree he crossed the line on this one?
What happened is that the government is waiting to see any single small element where they can nap you. And you witness that that small otter of a particular statement has made the whole compact of DCI to camp outside the Citizen studio the whole night. And you couldn't imagine that a member of parliament, somebody who can be summoned to appear to DCI, and it's only that after maybe he ignores such a kind of summon is when you can send officers to arrest. But an officer, a member of parliament who is a public figure, I don't think that he requires such a big force, a waste of resources, just for drama. And I don't think so, but we are used to this drama. These dramas were there during the last regime, and they have now canned. You remember the last regime? We had the Friday Kamata Kamata, and it seems that we have gone back there.
But the question, Kaguchia, is on the nature of the offense that they're talking about. Fine, you may claim selective justice, but two wrongs don't make it right. If someone is deemed to have committed an offense, shouldn't he face the law? From whichever side of
I have no problem.
Yeah.
I have just said that, in fact, in case the security agents deems that the statements made by Honorable Kaguchia were inflammatory statements, and he'd have to record a statement, then use a summon. Don't use that kind of force to force member of parliament to slip into code. Remember, as of yesterday, the member was transferred from Kembu to Kamukunji. And when he was in Kamukunji, we managed to have an order to release him. But that order was ignored. The order was very clear that the member is supposed to report to, the case is supposed to be handled 16th virtually. But this was totally ignored by security agencies. And they refused to receive money because actually the order stated that he required to deposit 100,000 Kenya shillings to the police station as a board. And orders from anywhere. What I'm saying is that when we arrive to such a situation, and a member is not ignoring orders, is not ignoring summons, he walks in to surrender himself, I don't think that we need to have a lot of drama. Okay. And he needs to be treated like in a human being. It is not important to have very selective ways of taking charge. Because when you insisted that a member cannot be given a board, and tomorrow when he appears to court, he will be given a same board. And then today, that board that was given by the court yesterday, and it was ignored by the security agencies, as he will be taken to court today, the same body will release him. What kind of drama then do you want to show?
All right. So, yes, let's listen to Senator John Methu on that issue about the court order that had been issued for MP John Kaguchia's release yesterday.
You understand, really, there's no reason of holding the Honorable Kaguchia here. If you read number 5, and this is the order that was now granted by the judge, Joachim Wangi, that I also grant the prayer sought in paragraph 4 of the application. The applicant shall be released forthwith, and that is why I want you to underline forthwith, unless I don't understand English. Forthwith means that is immediate from police custody upon a deposit of police cash bail in the sum of 100,000. We have 100,000. So why are they keeping him? The order says forthwith, immediately. And by the way, we are not even here to discuss about the merit, because you see, the merit of what Kaguchia said is not being determined by the OCS. That is a matter that will be before court. He will stand before court and he will say, this is exactly what I say, and this is exactly what I said. And the court will determine whether that was his speech or not. That is something that is very secondary. What we are speaking about this evening is his rights. His rights as a Kenyan. This is actually a constitutional right. He has a right to be released, because this order, unless this is a piece to William Ruto and Kipchumba Murkomen, this is just a piece of paper. Surely, if such a straightforward, plain order of the court can be disabused, I mean, which country are we in? Which country are we in? Anyway, I want to also give comfort to the people of Kenya. You see this thing that is happening here, it's just happening for a very short while. This is actually increasing the anger of the people of Kenya. And we shall correct this mess. We have the people who brought William Ruto in, and we have the people who will remove him. So, Mvumilie, it's just for 1 year. We shall send this brutal regime home. And once we send him, then we can restore constitutional order, because we can see that we are in very bad space.
Our last question. Selective justice has actually been applied to me, because you remember in the just concluded Orkalau by-election, I was told that I said people should not go to Orkalau, yet Moses Kuria had said he would bring 200 people in Orkalau. So the IBC, the DCI did not hear Moses Kuria say so, but they heard Wanjiku Moya saying they should not come. So selective justice has been applied in all manner of levels, but
Last evening, at the show where we were with Honorable Kaguchia, I said there are two things that to me are irreducible. First of all, we cannot balkanize a certain community. And I'm a Kikuyu, as I stand here. I come from the community of the mountain. And I said, when a person who is the Secretary General of the party that I belong to comes and says, Nyinyi wa Kikuyu, I cannot be with him. Before I become a member of UDA, I am a Kikuyu. You cannot come and insult and balkanize my mother and my father simply because I was born in a certain community. You cannot do that and be okay with me. That cannot settle in with me properly. The fact that we're in the same government with Adan Duale, he cannot come and call us hyenas. And you expect me to say, okay, we are hyenas because we're in this government. Because being in this government doesn't mean that I became married to this government or I have donated my head. I have a brain that works. And when I see things are not working properly, I must call them out. And you see, the fact that I support the government or that I belong to the UDA party and the ruling party doesn't mean that I lose my head. So we must be people who are guided by justice, who are guided by the truth, and who are guided by equity, and who are guided by, parity. And what is good for any member of parliament must be good for all of us.
would you want to see Duale arrested?
I would want to see Duale arrested. I would want to see Omar Hassan arrested. I would want to see all those other people, Wanyama. I don't know, all those other people who've been coming, all quite majority leader. Those people must be brought to justice. Because what is going to happen? 2027 will be over. So what will happen to our community? So if we stand here and say we are Kikuyus and then we just sit and wait for everything to be done. This, Waswahili husema usiwache nazi kwa maembe kwa sababu maembe ni ya msimu. Wakikuyu na watu wa mlima tutakuwa pamoja, tumekuwa pamoja tangu 1954. There is time. There is still another life after 2027 and after 2032. There is still the mountain that is required to be together. And that is what I was saying, even this Honorable Roko who's coming to say that we divide the mountain, he must be warned and told that the mountain belongs together.
With these remarks, Mheshimiwa,
a very agitated member of parliament there from Gatundu South, talking about selective justice as well. Many questions about due process and the consistency of our security agencies in tackling this, which is a very big problem. But the question is, wrongdoing is wrongdoing, Bwana Mutambu. And the politicians are known to just point fingers. When you do something wrong, ata yule mwingine alifanya. But is that the way to go?
Absolutely not. Idimuli, we cannot sit here and defend what is wrong. It doesn't matter who committed the offense, whether my brother, my friend, or whoever. The same right they are talking about in the Constitution, which they have, which they say we have this right, we have that right. It is the same constitutional right which are given by the Constitution to the people they are threatening. It is the right of any Kenyan from whichever part of the country, whichever divine they come from, whichever political party they align, to vote for whoever they wish. You cannot tell me, if I vote for Kaguchia, you will come and remove me from my house. That is a grievous statement. Because what you are doing you are inciting people to anarchy. You are inciting people to civil war. You are inciting people to fight. You are inciting people, you are threatening the people's life. And I don't see, and I don't understand how the politicians who are now agitated and are angry defending this fella getting agitated for. Okay? First, you are asking a simple question. Did the guy cross the line? And the answer is very simple. Yes, he did. Because the remarks he made are recipe to chaos, are recipe to threatening people's lives. Because I can tell you today, if I go to Mwingi Central and I tell people of Mwingi Central, if so and so fought for this, let's deal with them, that person will be killed by multitude. People will run to their house and they will burn their house. We have seen it happen.
Would we say the same for an elder who says that anyone within the community who goes against the political will of that community will be cast by the same elders? Is that something similar?
It is somehow similar. But cursing someone and threatening somebody...
Isn't a potential curse a threat as well?
You know, a curse, if you curse me, it may not affect me. Because who are you to curse me in any way? Who are you to curse me? You know, in our tradition, a curse comes from... It's like a ritual. It comes from people who are blood related. If you want to know about the curse, there is those who can curse you. Not anybody who can come from anywhere and say, I'm going to curse you. No, I can threaten to curse Kaguchia and he will walk home laughing because he knows nothing will happen. Okay? But telling somebody, if you fought for Kaguchia, and we know we have fought for Kaguchia, we'll smoke you out. That is very dangerous as opposed to a curse. All the leaders, they use those words. I have been cursed myself. Okay? My party leader once, he said, we have cursed these people. And he's supposedly someone who is now eyeing for presidency. Today, I am not bothered. And I have no problem with him saying that because I know he comes from Sekuru, I come from Mwingi, and his curse cannot affect me. All right? So that curse thing, you cannot compare it with somebody threatening others. Because you are threatening my life now. And I have equal rights. The rights now you are claiming that they are being infringed, it is the same right you are infringing for me. Because when you tell your community, when you tell a community, if somebody fought for this in this community, we'll deal with them, what does that amount to?
All right.
It is extremely, extremely wrong. And actually, it is us, the politicians and leaders, who need to protect this country.
Okay.
They live in this country, and they are wondering where are those who are not releasing them, where they live. Mm-hmm. And it is the same constitution they are infringing.
Okay. Let's get a legal perspective into this. Joshua Kipto, advocate for the High Court, karibu sana to this conversation. Clear questions about consistency by the enforcement agencies, due process concerns. There was a court order yesterday and police ignored it. And even the fact that some of these issues fall under the purview of the NCIC. And now we are seeing police handling it. The success of such a move by the DCI, what would they charge him for? Today. Kindly just paint a picture of what the legal process requires and what we expect out of this.
So thank you very much. I think what you're seeing, as I've listened through, this is just the season where political madness sets in and people always throw inflammatory statements, people say things, and that's why you've tried to mention from curses to threats and all of you. Now, for the case of my former colleague, we served with him when he was Speaker Nyeri, I was Speaker Nandi, for John Kaguchia. You have a thin line that that can transcend either side of the law, in the sense that NCIC is supposed to monitor hate speech, whatever is considered hate speech, anything that is considered insightful. So you are looking at whatever is considered insightful to the extent of disturbing public peace, or with an end objective of causing possibly lack of cohesion, and that's why it's called cohesion commission, so that anything that can come in between the relations of a people, of a society, is then considered to be within the purview of NCIC. Now, for the case of MP John Kaguchia, you have the element of physical harm, which in itself is a threat to violence, because he said we will hunt them down. will get them even under their beds. Number two, he went further. It was directed to individuals, where he said, if I'm to go to what was shared on the media, where he was saying, we'll not even go to their dowry payments, and we will know them, we will profile them. So that then splits or spills over to a threat of individual, because it means we have to isolate these persons. And you know, the moment we said we isolate this person, then it's one step away from mob justice. So that we want to ostracize this person, and that's why we will not attend their events, we will not support them, we will not, you know, technically it's harm towards a person. It's not a group of people, it's a person. So that then clearly then falls the ambit of a threat to violence, physical harm, and what have you. And that's then what I believe led the Director of Criminal Investigation, because that's a criminal offense. So the question then is how they'll frame the charges. I foresee them framing the charges around this threat to person, more or less like willful intention to commit violence. So that then will fall the purview of our criminal penal code. And as a result, I would believe that's what he would be charged with that. Secondly, I think those some one step skipped, because I believe, of course, because the courts were close at that point, when John Kaguchia, I think, was aware that he was subject to an arrest, I think at that point, legally speaking, you always quickly seek to have an anticipatory bail, so that at the point you are arrested and you have anticipatory bail, that acts as a shield, whereby possibly you can proceed, record a statement, but not detain because of the anticipatory bail you have. But I suspect by virtue it was in the night, that could not have happened. And that's why his lawyers would only act the next morning, which was yesterday morning, before he could leave the premises. So you see then that what follows then is an arrest was done, because in the morning there was an arrest, which then meant change of plan. Instead of looking for anticipatory bail, they then sought to have more or less a cash bail and all that. Now the challenge is one, and this is always the problem, which basically is more of operational than legal. When you obtain a court order, it's upon you to serve, because the court has given you an order. So it's upon you to serve. And then service has to be proven to the court of law that you've served. And if the other party has failed to act on the orders, then that would be considered a case of contempt. So I suspect yesterday, what you see Senator Methu was referencing to, possibly they had been unable to serve. Okay. Possibly it was a challenge for them even to know where he was being detained. Was he in the DCI headquarters? And upon them finding out that he was in Kamkunji, it was late in the night, and possibly they were unable to serve the court order. And that is more operational in nature, which then means by today morning, in pursuit of the same order, they would then proceed to court. If the DCI are preferring charges before a magistrate's court, because that's an offense that is preferred around the chief magistrate's court, if they are bringing the MP before a magistrate's court, then the lawyers of the MP then would be able to produce the court that comes from a higher court. So then that becomes the work of the magistrate. In the alternative, the government state council can seek the discharge of the orders, which I think the court will insist first that let them be respected, and possibly, I'm trying to see how to go around that, because I don't think the High Court judge would wish to discharge before the same have been acted upon. So possibly there may be a case of him being preferred before the High Court judge and said, okay, fine, we are seeking then that we have complied, but at the same time we are seeking for the charging, which would mean immediate arrest and charging before a magistrate's court. So my answer to this would be, it is a question of preventive. I like what Wanjiku Muya said, corrective justice. But why should we wait for corrective justice? Because IBC acted differently from NCIC. The complaint has been that NCIC comes late to the party. It's until a problem has occurred. Yes. And they don't act in quickly. But IBC was different, because theirs was process-based, and by-election was due in 2-3 days. They acted within that time frame. I believe it's a question of taking responsibility. As we said here on this panel, the responsibility lies with us politicians. You don't have to get there. You don't have to get carried away. I could see clearly, since Olkalau when DCP has been on the offensive, And the offensive has almost gone, like they have gone off tirade.
Yeah.
And I really pity and empathize with the political players within Mount Kenya. At this rate, they'll be told, you have to come prostrate and worship before Mnyoro, and then you can proceed.
Let me cut you short there. We need to take a break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Is it just a matter of selective justice, or have the politicians crossed the line and they're not willing to pay the price? This is TV47 Breakfast.
Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47. Sundays at 8:30 p.m.
Good morning. You have my rent?
Leo jioni kama tutakuwa tumelipa rent, nauza hii simu yako.
Hamna pesa. I need 3 G's to make my nails today.
Sasa hivi natuhusu aje?
Can I order now? Do you ship? Can I get blinking ones?
Mimi nilikuwa na trade. Nimeekelea kitele yangu. Kitele yangu na trade. Ikikunyuma.
Oh my God. You left me. Nitumie ni line.
Uko nje kuna wifi.
Why? Hi-fi?
Wait, so what do we call this dish again?
I have no idea.
The cucumbers are there specifically for my beauty routine.
Tangu lini kero umeka kwa beauty product?
Na ameenda.
Tunafaa tukuwe na logo yetu. Like, si ni brand already.
You won't entertain divas.
No. I'm not dealing with a man child.
Amazing. Nishapenda hii energy.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
Right, welcome back. Once again, we're still talking about what's happening with MP John Kaguchia. He spent the night in police custody after being arrested at a media house where, following his remarks last weekend, which are deemed to have been a threat to voters from a certain region. And Wakili, we were talking about the legal issues, but I want us now to move from the legal issues, because yes, we'll see what will happen. But allow me to go back to the politicians for a moment. Many politicians don't understand that even a threat to your own community is an offense as well. People think just talking about the other community is what is tantamount to a criminal issue. Many people, especially as we continue balkanizing and deciding that this ring fencing, let me call it that, ring fencing our own units, like Mount Kenya has to be like this, and if you go against this, there'll be consequences. Nyanza has to be like this, and other groupings. Don't you think that's also a very retrogressive move? That politicians have to demand that the voters cannot think independently. They have to think the same way that the party or the person who's considered the leader in that region is thinking.
Idimori, let me first of all get a little back up behind on what Wakili has lamented. Just want to collect that orders were served yesterday and were stamped by the OCS. So orders were not late. Orders were punctual, and the OCS himself stamped the order. He received the order and stamped it. It's only he refused to accept the cash that was supposed to be deposited. And that is the small element why Kaguchia has slept in court last night. Otherwise, if the OCS allowed to receive the money, because the order was very clear that upon deposit of 100,000, that 100,000 was available, but the OCS refused to receive that money. And coming to Idimuri's element of whether politicians does not know, sometimes they are against the law. What I'll tell you, everybody understands because most of these laws and almost every single other law passes through Parliament. And therefore, those politicians we are talking about, they understand these laws very well because they are the ones who craft this law. But there is what we call ignorance of law. Today, we have a government which completely ignores court orders. Is that fair? Is that the way that institutions should treat each other? I believe executive is there to be checked by the Parliament. And we have another arm, which is judiciary. The judiciary, after it makes recommendations, those recommendations should be implemented by the executive without shortcut. But when ignorance of the law comes in, that's why we find that decisions can be made by court, ignored by the executive. And at the same time, those members who crafted the law, they craft the law, but they also ignore this law. Because when we move to the public and you make inflammatory statements down there, it does not mean that you don't know you are doing wrong. You know you are doing wrong, but you are ignoring, what you are doing is ignoring that particular law. And that's why we are saying the Constitution is not just a paper, just a mere paper. If we don't respect it, it will just be a paper. And therefore, everybody, not only the politician, those who are being led and those who lead, all of them should respect that particular Constitution for it to be a supreme law to the land. And that's the only way we can move on. Otherwise, we cannot have those who are untouchables. We must, all of us, obey the law and live within the rule of law. And that's only the way that the country can thrive. Otherwise, all of us, we must respect it. It does not mean, even when the state understands this is a law, it moves to what we call jungle or banana republic route, knowing that they are out of the law, out of the path. All of us should be within the path. And let me say this. All of us, it does not mean whether you are the president or who. You are elected by the people through a particular path of law. And therefore you have to adhere to that particular law. Otherwise, even a constitution of a particular small group, if you don't adhere within that particular constitution, then that group cannot survive. That's the way we should have that kind of.
We should all follow the law, but there appears to be a deficiency somewhere, Bwana Mutambu, that we have commissions, Chapter 15 commissions. We have institutions that are supposed to handle this problem, where we fail constantly, repeatedly. NCIC, for example. The IEBC, that as Wakili has commended here, the DCI, which we are seeing now taking action later on, and now everyone is being accused of doing it selectively. The NCIC has now come out. The independent institutions have expressed concern over rising political temperatures ahead of the general election. And yesterday, the NCIC, the Office of Registrar of Political Parties, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the National Police Service, the Communications Authority, IEBC said the country is heading in the wrong direction if nothing is done to end the tension. Now they've come up with another structure where collectively they want to say that they will be able to handle issues of hate speech and incitement around elections. But Mutambu, this is something we've seen over and over. In and around elections, politicians will misbehave, some will be arrested, some will not. The NCIC is yet to take anyone properly to court. We are yet to see any conviction on incitement to violence or electoral offences. Isn't this just a waste of time that's costing the taxpayers money? That we have institutions and we're spending money on them, but they will do nothing about all these offences.
Before I go there, allow me to say one thing here. And I said somewhere the other time, I don't create a mountain from a anthill. The discussion we are having and the debate we are having about the police not obeying the court orders and all those kind of things and making a whole hullabaloo about it. Our good friend lawyer here will tell you, court process is procedural. It's a procedure which you follow. If you serve police with an order today, right, the police must verify that order, whether it is genuine or not. And that's what happens. If today I want to auction Gachagua and take the order to police to enforce that order, they'll tell me, wait a minute, we confirm whether this order is genuine or not. And they write to court to get that confirmation. So if you serve police at night when the courts are closed, right, and you want to be released based on the paper you are holding, and nobody knows whether you got it from a river road or otherwise, it is upon the police to make sure that whatever they are doing is legal and right as per the law. And for them to do so, and I'm not defending them, I'm not a police lawyer, all right? But I'm talking about the procedure which must be followed. So when you serve police at night, and this order has not been confirmed whether it is right or wrong, then you start now shouting all over that police have ignored the orders, there's clear order, there's clear. Yes, it is clear, but there's also another harm. There's another part of confirmation. Why can't you be patient and have this order confirmed, whether it is right or wrong, whether it is genuine or not? Because we are Kenyans and we know how we do our things. I can go somewhere and come with an order and serve you. So if a police is not careful, he may release somebody with a fake order. And it has happened before. So let us just be Kenyans who observe the procedures of our courts and respect them and respect all the institutions. Because you go there with a mindset that I have an order and the police must release me, and if they don't, I call...
exactly what time that order was served.
That's what I'm saying.
And currently, we are not using that order analog. We are in a digital state. So you can't tell us you must write to court to reply.
No, that's what I'm saying. That is the process. Okay. Unfortunately, it is the process. They normally write to court. That's the process, whether digital or not digital. The process requires that, and the Wakil is here, you will tell us. You have to confirm
the point is made on that one.
Yes.
So I'm more concerned about this coalition of constitutional commissions, security agencies, and electoral regulators with a new multi-agency framework to crack down on hate speech, incitement, and political intimidation. Do you think, because it looks like doing the same thing over and over again, and they're expecting different results. We've done this before, multi-agencies around elections to check on hate speech. They've never been effective.
If I may take on that, Edimoli, the agencies, they work in cooperation. Because there is one act on this agency, and there's a different act on the other agency. And there are some aspects of clauses in this agency which, once joined with this other one, can be effective. And I'm telling you this as a person who has been in charge of agencies in this country, not one, not two, but three. And I understand it. So when a multi-agency is formed, it is formed to make a good framework of dealing with the issues around the problems. And that's what happens. So it is not in vain that these agencies are formed. Sometimes we have an act of the way the DCI work, there is a way, the way the National Forest work, and all those things, when they are combined, and there is an offense which has been committed, then you have a good framework to either take somebody to court. Because as we speak today, and with a lawyer, and that's why I'm happy and I'm referring to him, if you try to take anybody in a court with insufficient evidence, he will be there smiling. And he will poke on those holes. This one did not happen, this one did not do this, the act says this, the act says that, so you cannot do this, you cannot do that. I remember when I was the chairman of Water Resource Authority, there were some arrests we wanted to make, but because our laws do not allow, we had to invoke the laws of NEMA. So that happens in management of these agencies. And for them to be effective, they support one another. So it's not something new. It's not a surprise that we have this agency. I mean, we have this.
Does it work? Does it work? The question is, does it work? We have situations where, Wakili, a CS has been summoned by NCIC for making inflammatory remarks and says, I won't appear. I just will not. Is this a possible solution, this multi-agency team? Because it would appear there's a deficiency in as far as ensuring justice in these cases we're dealing with. Yes, politicians will continue. After all, we've gotten into the phase where every politician has just gone, loses their sanity and they say anything. But the problem is, does this multi-agency make the enforcement arm any better?
So I think I would wish to take our viewers back to 2017, because the idea of hate speech and cohesion took root after the experience of 2007-2008 post-election violence. And 2013 was the first time we were making a try of the institution. So your question would have made sense. Your assessment would have been a fair comment in 2013, because that was the first time we had NCIC, we had now the criminal investigation under DCI and what have you. But 2017 for me was a good case study that we can refer to if you're trying to seek inspiration whether it has worked before. If you remember in 2017, you had for the first time arrest of politician, and it was not selective. That is when in Pangani police station you had Kimani Ngunjiri, you had Moses Kuria, you had Junet, and like who else?
I think Mudama was also there.
Mudama was there. So all parties were almost represented. Wiper was represented. ODM had 2 of its members.
All of their members arrested.
Actually, it was, I remember Junet was arrested outside the Nation Media House. So all the players, it's like DCI picked the summons from NCIC, because NCIC Adam Zalendo Kibunja had profiled and documented the persons of interest that should be charged with incitement and hateful inflammatory statements. And DCI then moved to arrest them in piecemeal and banded them together, charged them under one common charge sheet. The net effect then was there was a sense of camaraderie within the political space that for a moment they even forgot. If you remember that famous...
But to what consequence?
Listen. There was that famous press where Raila was there and they were making fun. Junet was making fun of how Kimani Ngunjiri was struggling in the cells. What was the net effect of that? All of a sudden you had a cooling down. In fact, the insults that were throwing over and over was then only upgraded to the presidential level, where then I remember during the debates, although Uhuru Kenyatta never showed up for the debate, he was placed at the center and said and was accused of, whereas the lieutenants below the rank and file, that is Jubilee and NASA, there was a toning down of inflammatory statement. I'm using that as a case study. You're very right. This time, we haven't seen that cohesive efficiency within the multi-agency. And I don't think the multi-agency has taken shape. What we've seen is unilateral. Number 2, I've seen even the majority leader, Aaron Cheriot, going hammer on NCIC. So I have not seen the 2017 moment.
But even the 2017 moment, what did it do beyond pacifying the issues that were there? Did we see any conviction? Because there's obvious criminality, and some of them, of course, would be weighed against another. Some of those people, you say it was the same charge sheet. The offenses were not committed at the same place. It was simply something it's like a blanket to just pacify the masses. Should that be the consequence?
I don't think it was to pacify the masses. The idea was, for the first time, we had criminal charges brought against politicians. And you know, for criminal trials, they don't just end with a snap. Number 2, you may find possibly they settled it through payment of fines, because most of the incitement criminal charges are mostly settled through fines rather than even, because if you look at, it's more like a misdemeanor. It's not like a capital offense like murder and the rest. So that can only generate, a misdemeanor can only generate a short sentence or an equivalent of a fine, which politicians would rather pay the fine. For me, just to answer your question would be, it can work. And as I've said, the gap is what you're referring to as multi-agency has not taken shape. I haven't seen any common jurisdiction, any common conversation by the so-called players within this field. I haven't seen a common meeting between NCIC, for example, the DCI, maybe IBC, not at all. We've had unilateral actioning. IBC dealt as IBC during Olkalau by-election. At this point, DCI dealt yesterday with John Kaguchia, whatever the MP John Kaguchia as DCI. NCIC has not proffered any statements, has not come out very strongly. And that's why, as I've said, when you could see the majority leader going hard on NCIC, the multi-agency has not taken shape. What ideally should be, NCIC should take the lead, because that is firmly within their jurisdiction. However, the enforcement can only be done, for example, by the security agencies and the courts. The courts are at the tail end. If you have NCIC busy with investigators, even the media plays a critical role. So if you have NCIC sitting on the same table with the media, sitting with the security agencies, and then agreeing in principle as to the methodology, for example, them in coordination with the media, NCIC can even do a media brief and ask the media or the members of the fourth estate to partner with them and share.
The biggest problem that we all have is of what consequence are some of these actions? Is there any action that is taken against anyone who's accused of hate speech or incitement to violence or electoral malpractice? We've not seen that. That is a promise that this new agency is coming up with. It is one of the stories we've covered here at TV47 that probably candidate or aspirants may be barred from the next election if at all they're found to have committed this kind of electoral offenses, including hate speech, intimidation, voter intimidation, and incitement. Let's watch this story.
We remind all leaders and members of the public that while Article 33 of the Constitution guarantees every person's right to freedom of expression, this right is not absolute. It does not extend to propaganda for war, incitement to violence, hate speech, or advocacy of hatred.
The other day, I saw a comedian, for lack of a better word, making a statement and saying that he was able to get information from the DCI and other security sectors.
As we kick in the timelines for the general election, I want to support my brother, the chair for IBC, that we will follow it through to make sure that the political parties' code of conduct and the elections code of conduct are actually enforced and followed by both the political parties and the candidates of those political parties.
IBC cannot hold elections in a toxic environment. IBC cannot hold elections in an environment where that is full of incitement, division, violence, chaos, anarchy.
We are going to see the 2027 general elections. Some of the people you are seeing campaigning here will not see the parrot. They are not going to be the parrot because they will be disqualified because of inciting Kenyans.
Right. It is that statement at the very end that we want. Is it possible that we could see for the first time?
I think maybe I hadn't caught that story, but that sums up what I was saying. IBC proved it. If in all Kalau they could find for the first time, we haven't seen politicians singled out and fined. That has not happened. So if we are to go by this, now this is the multi-agency I was referring to. So that tells you they are then coming together. It has worked before. And for this one, it is more practical because the only thing that can save you from such collective action, where you have NCIC, the political parties, and IBC concertedly working together, only the court of law. And for the court of law, judiciary then will be on the receiving end, which I'm not seeing them per se interfering. What then would happen, my idea would be NCIC, the political parties tribunal, as well as the IBC, have to do watertight case. And that's why I feel...
they cannot by themselves disqualify candidates?
They have the motion. That's why I say we have the law and policy that happens. We have the code of conduct that we have to adhere to. Before you are cleared, why do you forget their specific aspects, up to including being charged and what have you? So for me, this is more deterrence. The only challenge, as I've said, or what I foresee, you will find people running to court to seek orders. Because, for example, they can ride on the aspect that if a criminal trial has not been concluded over the same, then I may not be. But I like the idea where they're putting on the table that it is part and parcel of their consideration, including political parties. So what is the new in this multi-agency approach is the place of political parties.
Okay.
Because for a long time, whatever
that's a consequence we are looking for.
Yes.
That
The register of political parties was out of the loop. Now they are in.
Even political parties need to take responsibility, Bwana Gakuya, that candidates who are deemed to have offended these laws should not be allowed to vie in the next elections. But politicians will not see that as a deterrence because they know that you can always run to court and get orders blocking that and vie for election. Hence, my question, is this multi-agency team of any consequence, if at all you can rush to court despite obvious criminality?
First and foremost, let us all agree that this country will be on its course when all of us will abide to the law. These multi-agencies might, in one way, be used by the state to harass the opposition. And that's the reason why you have find that cases that are directly facing those who are on the wrong side of the government, you find them being given summons by NCIC. But I have not seen Sudi, not anybody else from the other end, any time seen the light of the day to NCIC. So these commissions sometimes are tools used by the state for the purpose of the state to silence the opposition. And it's not fair. The law has to be dealt with across board, and it should not be applied on a double standard anyhow. I want to refer you back to the statement made by the head of state that the youth should be shot on the leg. His minister also said, any youth that will be seen anywhere near a police station should be shot. Those statements are made by very strong senior men on the land. Nobody can touch them. What can we do? Can we say in terms of law abiding? Are they not part of the law abiding? And if there are people who are untouchable, and there are those who are touchable, then where are we? Because if we cannot bring what we call a uniform way of application of the law, then we are wrong.
Okay. Yes. Final word on this. We need to move on to some other political news.
You know, as you're asking whether these multi-agencies work or not, I think we need also to read our acts very well, which guides these institutions. You know, there is an institution which is prosecuting, but they do not have arresting power. So you'll need that person who arrests to be with you, okay? We have IBC who don't have arresting power. So they need the DCI to come on board so that they can arrest for them. So that's how it works. So we cannot just say it does not work. It does, because there's a synergy between the institutions. And that's why we have these multi-agencies, because this one does this one does this. This one prefers the charges, this one prosecutes. This one now is the judge. So everyone has got a role to play in our system. But going to what Mheshimiwa Kaguchia is saying, that we have not seen that and that being arrested. I don't make a crime because somebody did. I don't go there rob a bank because Wakilia robbed it yesterday and he was not arrested. Like you said, two wrongs do not make a right. What I like from Kaguchia is when he said, when we, all of us, abide to all of us, not excluding, not saying because that one did, I will not do. That is the powerful statement Kaguchia has said, that when all of us abide to the law, that I will not commit a crime or I will not incite somebody because a colleague of mine incited the other side. Once we refrain ourselves from that point, that is when this country will come down as he puts it. So it is very important to understand that I don't break the law because a colleague of mine or a friend of mine or a relative did break the law indeed. So it is upon we Kenyans to make sure if we want our country to thrive in peace and harmony, It is a responsibility of each and every Kenyan.
So what do you make about the statement by CS Duale that he would not appear before the NCIC because Rigathi Gachagua has not appeared?
To me, I think that is the most unfortunate thing, because you don't do it because the other one has not done. And that's what I'm saying. So, and the CIC, they have the mechanism. If they want to summon Duale, they can summon him. And let me tell you, you know, law enforcement is not timed. Maybe today, Duale is in power, and maybe the junior officers, they may not arrest him. But I can tell you, it will come a time when those charges will be preferred against him. So we have to be very careful as leaders. When you are in power today, you just don't boast and say, I will not do that, I can do that. There is a time when we will be out of that power, and you will be followed, and you will be arrested and charged. So it is important, once you are summoned by an institution, just to honor and respect them and go and hear your issues.
So a coalition of constitutional commissions, security agencies and electoral regulators has unveiled a new multi-agency framework to crack down on hate speech, ethnic incitement and political intimidation ahead of the 2027 general election. And it comes at a time when at least one member of parliament is behind bars over the same. We expect him in court today, and we will be reporting on the same as it gets to us. That's why we talk on that issue about hate speech and incitement to violence, as also intimidation and threats around elections. We now want to move on to some political news as well. And it's on the front page of the Standard. Grand coalition in the making. A meeting by former President Uhuru Kenyatta held at Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's SK Command Center yesterday bore the hallmarks of a grand opposition coalition taking shape ahead of next year's general election. Yes, after admitting 3 new parties into the Azimio la Umoja coalition and opening its doors to more like-minded outfits, the coalition has stepped up efforts to broaden its national support, which may include Edwin Sifuna and Rigathi Gachagua's DCP. Wakili, many people are comparing this to what happened in 2002 when all the other parties came together and formed a grand coalition. Do you think it's possible? Do you think that comparison is valid?
Good. So thank you very much. I think it's not new for such grand coalition propositions to happen. And as you've rightfully put, the train left the station in 2002. Since 2002, coalition politics is our mainstay. And if you're to go by the last 2 elections or 3 elections, I'll pick 2013. 2002 was amalgamation of every Tom, Dick and Harry to break the back of KANU regime. 2007 was 2 major players, in this case ODM versus PNU. Again, Constellation, it was a spillover of 2002. But from 2013, 2017 and 2022, you have these 2 hardening blocks and maybe a third party. Like in 2013, you had the Amani coalition that was lost. But in 2017 and 2022, 2 hard coalitions. Jubilee versus NASA, and then you had Azimio versus Kenya Kwanza. So in 2022, I don't see much of a different script. So I'll answer your question by first saying it is expected, because our coalition politics at the national level are now a mainstay. It's not more or less like a chancing. It's not circumstantial. It is a political reality and fact that has been now firmly established as our national political trajectory. However, what changes is the making of such coalition. Most of the time it is not plain as it appears. I actually think our coalition politics has become like the transfer season for the football. Like if you look at FKF, they are preparing for the opening of their league in August. So the transfer season is open, so the signing on is happening. If you look at the sports world over, whether in the US NBA, if you talk about the football in the European leagues, now we are seeing it in our political space. So what's happening? You have new emerging talent, and within the opposition, the new emerging kid on the block is Sifuna, who definitely, as I mentioned previously in this panel, has upended the stakes both in opposition and in government. Why I'm saying so, in opposition, he was not a consideration. Linda Mwananchi was not on the table. DCP, it was Wiper, more or less DCP and Rigathi, and the others, which in this case you have Martha Karuas, the Peter Munyas, Eugene Wamalwa, all those constellation. Then Sifuna happens. That upends everything. And that's why you've been seeing Peter Salasia being a sidekick of Eugene Wamalwa, throwing tantrums every single day, every day and night, talking about Sifuna. Because you can see they are the first casualty within the opposition ranks. Because that would mean on the table from the Western region, if it's about opposition coalition, then Sifuna is first among equals. Then there's a misnomer of DCP. You have Rigathi, as it stands, being unable to hold an office, yet commands the biggest vote block, if we are to go by numbers, within the opposition ranks. If you're talking about Mount Kenya's entry into the foray, they're the biggest number within the block, but without an individual to sit on the table, because the perceived leader of that DCP bloc cannot sit. That's why Methu is standing in. But Methu has not captured the space unless something happens again. So unlike before, that's why I say it's a transfer season. You have balls shifting. So that, again, I don't understand, or I'm not sure, the relation between the fourth president and Rigathi. Why? Olkalau for me was a major political happening. Two things happened. One, there was a formal consolidation of Rigathi Gachagua as the first among, like more or less like the leader for whatever the Mount Kenya region, if you are to go by the results of Olkalau, which means there is a forceful handover of power from Uhuru Kenyatta to Rigathi Gachagua. How has Uhuru treated that? I'm not sure. He still appears to be the leader of the coalition. How does that play out? Again, it's on the balls. There's also been a quiet, more or less slowdown of Kalonzo being perceived the obvious leader of the pack. That again is not happening. The emergence of Sifuna has seen more or less like the overshadowing of Kalonzo and Matiang'i, which then leaves you with the player and the deck who's yet to show his cards, in this case the president, William Ruto, waiting in the wings. Because the work of Kenya Kwanza is simple. Don't unravel your side of the divide. And the unraveling of the side of the divide, again, the impact of Olkalau by-election. I keep going back to this Olkalau by-election. It causes a problem to the brigade within Kenya Kwanza. In this case, the deputy president. All of a sudden, post-Olkalau, unlike before Olkalau, the talk about the deputy presidency has emerged. And for the first time, Kindiki is equally addressing it. So you find it to be a case of coalitions forming. Between August, where we are now, and December, expect transfers to happen.
Expect more of this. But my problem and my issue is Azimio and where it plays in all this. When Kaguchia, a few months ago when there was talk about a revival of Azimio, you came here in studio and you dismissed the talk in total. You said that is a non-starter and you shall not consider it. According to the discussions yesterday, DCP is being quoted to join that. Do you still stand firm on your pronouncement that Azimio is not the way to go? And do you feel that this is a problem and it will come to interfere with the workings of the United Alternative Government?
On the onset, I would like to be very clear that I am not against the formation of a united front between all these political parties who want to join together. But I'm still having an issue with that element of Azimio as a coalition. One is that I believe Azimio is an Azimio that was a coalition used by Raila Odinga and his team, including the former president, to Ghana for a particular election. And it failed to capture its desire. Today, as much as that team wants to solidify itself, I have no problem with Kalonzo solidified himself with that particular team which previously were under that particular roof of Azimio. But at a particular time when the discussions will come to the table, I don't believe that, in fact, personally, I am persuaded to move by that Azimio coalition. My option, my take is that we need to look for another name. And a name will not come from sky. Names are there. And my only problem is...
Azimio could rebrand and name itself any other thing, but the fact that Uhuru is a de facto leader of this, does that cause a problem for DCP? Does that cause a problem for Rigathi Gachagua, that he'll now come under the umbrella of his, let's say, rival or former rival, President Uhuru Kenyatta?
Idimoli, I am not persuaded that the negotiations will be done under the Azimio fraternity. Me, I am persuaded that if we come to a particular table, that table must be not necessarily a table that is under the Azimio fraternity.
What about Uhuru Kenyatta as a person?
Uhuru Kenyatta is a party leader of...
He's the one who chaired the meeting.
He is a party leader of a Jubilee party. And at a particular time when the discussion will be in place, you cannot distance him out of such a particular discussion, because he's a party leader of a particular party, which a coalition member. And therefore, him being... I am only against that as of now, he's a chairperson of Azimio. And I don't think that when the time of discussions will come, he will be the one to lead the negotiation under that fraternity. We must look for a new method.
Well, Uhuru Kenyatta will come as an equal member.
Add a new formula of discussion. Because surely, I'm not, as I repeat again, I'm not persuaded that the element of Azimio is where all of us will converge to discuss the future of our regiment. But I have no problem with them, those members, and those who are willing also to join for now. I have no problem with the discussions, but the discussion should not necessarily be read by that particular cocoon of Azimio.
So the pronouncement that they will be quoting DCP and Linda Mwananchi to join this Azimio team?
No, we can join in discussion, but we cannot be forced to join the Azimio.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that, Kaguchia.
Listening carefully to what Kaguchia is not saying, listening to what he's not saying, and looking at this paper, and looking at the face of Kaguchia once he glances at this paper, you get it all. That whatever arrangement being done here, all right, does not please the mountain. Does not. Why? Because we have two factors there. We have Uhuru Kenyatta and we have Rigathi Gachagua, who, according to my opinion, or any other person's opinion here, Kaguchia is trying to be the shrine of Mount Kenya, whereby...
Gachagua?
Yes, Gachagua. He's trying to be, he wants to make himself not actually a kingpin, but a shrine where everybody must worship. All right? And then now here we have former president who also believes he has some followers in Mount Kenya. And that is the reason why, if there was any agreement between the two, and referring to what our good friend is saying here, the lawyer, and reading from Olekalau, Jubilee could not have fielded any candidate there because there is some understanding. But when I say I listen to what Kaguchia is not saying, is that there is no understanding between the two. So everyone is pulling on their side. And that is the picture I'm reading here, I'm seeing here. And that's why I agree with him, because there's nothing here for Mountain. There's nothing. You look at here, you mentioned Gachagua, like he's alluding to, is impeached. He cannot hold on any office. So who are they left with here? There's nobody. There is two Kambas, Gilu and Kalonzo is there. There is Western, Nyanza, there is Western. But the main player, okay, the Ronaldo of Kenyan's politics, is not there. So, and they cannot agree to it. So you have to look at it from a different angle. But when you look at it myopically, without taking or beaming your eyes further to understand where the problem is, we may think that we have something. But from this paper, I can tell you there is nothing. Because the main player is not there. And involving, you know, and saying that they are inviting Sifuna. I don't know whether they are inviting him as a person or as a unit. Okay. Because the Linda Mwananchi? It has not become a political party. Maybe there's a process of making it a political party.
What about the other side? Does the involvement of the former president complicate matters for William Ruto in any way? That you have this former president actively working towards a coalition that will oppose you at the next elections?
I can tell you no. Why? Because whatever figures will come from Mount Kenya, with Gachagua and Uhuru combined, they are the same. And I said it here, that Mount Kenya has decided which way to go. And if there's any vote which Ruto will get from Mount Kenya, it's already there, and it's already decided. There's no difference, there's no add up that Gachagua now are coming with
Are you saying the only value that Uhuru brings is from the mountain? Doesn't he hold influence across the country that him pushing for this coalition would be different?
Unfortunately, politically, this country has taken a shape politically. So it is too late. I can tell you now, from Mukambani, if Kalonzo stands there alone, the numbers he'll get are the same when Igilu comes in.
Yes.
It's the same. So whatever Kalonzo commands, still there. There's nobody in Mukambani who will add anything to that matrix.
Completely.
Nobody will add. Whatever numbers Gachagua commands today, nobody else will add anything to that number. And my good friend here, he may agree with me on that one. So it's the same. The die is cast. We know all the numbers from whichever region. So whether the president has friends in Mombasa, they will not be swayed because he has joined Gachagua. No, it will stand as it is. And the momentum we have today, we'll move with it that way. All right? So the only thing now people can do is for Ruto to get some more people to try to at least get something from Mount Kenya, get something from Mukambani, and he's doing that through us, and I can confess, and something is working, all right? Out of 10, you can convince 1 or 2, which is a good sign. We are talking of 20% or 30% out of it. So if Gachagua and Uhuru combine the forces, the results will be the same.
Okay. Final comment on this. We only have about 7 minutes.
So, okay. So, one, I want to agree with him with a small complimentary. He's very right. The hardening of political value, by the time you are valued as to what you bring to the table, is already underway. If you ask me, the only hanging bit is Western Kenya, whereby, why do you think you see ODM pushing for Oparanya as a potential deputy president? Because the emergence of Sifuna has firmly put Western Kenya on the crucible, so that you still have the two bigwigs, Wetangula, the speaker, as well as Mudavadi, fighting for their dear lives to prove value and worth within Kenya Kwanza. Then you have Sifuna trying to prove to the united opposition that he is a principal by his own right, and fighting us others who've been there like Eugene Wamalwa within the opposition. And then you have ODM for a long time being the dominant party in Western under Raila Odinga, trying to reclaim their space, and their target is Kakamega. And that's why Oparanya becomes the person of interest. So according to what Mutambo has mentioned, the place that is still hanging, where we've not hardened the value, is Western. Because Western is now a fully fledged battleground. Don't also rule out Kisii. Kisii is equally on the crosshairs, whereby can we comfortably say that Matiang'i has consolidated? I don't think so. When he came at first, it was almost foregone conclusion. That's not the case. Mount Kenya is settled. We can have that. We can make a call now and say Mount Kenya is settled. I agree with Mutambo that actually the fourth president, I don't see the value. It's more symbolic. I feel that the takeover has happened. Olkalao was the takeover period.
He doesn't add any value to this discussion?
He adds value. He adds value in the sense that if he joins Rigathi, if they come together, that's an absolute mandate. It actually solidifies the idea of a mountain being one. It kind of drowns out any form of disparity within the mountain. But as it stands, thanks to the momentum generated out of the Olkalao by-election, the mountain seems to have a momentum around DCP. That does not surprise you, whereby, as Gakuya mentioned it jokingly, that now Munyoro is a shrine. You don't need any other evidence, because what is the What has changed? Have you seen every governor, even we were making fun of MP, Gatundu South. Basically, he's bidding himself to DCP. That's a fact. The way he spoke, it will be one step away. He'll just use an excuse and say, you see, thanks to the hate speech I've here. But he's actually begging to run to Amunyoro and be clothed with a green cap. So as it stands, I agree with him that. However, my pointer is this. There's also a case of the optics. What did William Ruto do in 2022? When Azimio was fully packed to the brim, until positions had to be given for ministers like Joho, Peter Munyas and the rest, there were those that per se could not per se move so much, but for the optics to appear as your big coalition, William Ruto accepted to open his doors and windows for the likes of JB Muturit with his small DP party. He accepted to take in Alfred Mutua. What was that for? Optics. So you have first the hardening of numbers that you can count and say this is the number, as Mutambo has said, if it's Okambani, Kalonzo and the team, if it is Mount Kenya, Rigathi and the team. But then there's the optics. You may still need faces so that your coalition appears bigger. There's always this 5-10% of the Kenyan voter that people are ignoring. 2022, we only had a presidential election being decided by around 200,000. Yes. So these optics can move the pieces. And for the president, it becomes important. Because for the president and the Kenya Kwanza coalition, his numbers will be dictated by himself, not even by the people he brings. Unless he's able to bring on board Kalonzo Musyoka or Rigathi Gachagua, which I think cannot work. For Rigathi Gachagua, his die is cast. He's built his politics around one-termism. Any disparity from that, Mount Kenya will throw him out, will actually spit him out. So as I finish, I'll say this. The only moving thing that we need to take keen interest, I think the president will have to do a different ball game altogether. Unlike the opposition that are talking about individual, the president has to be the person owning his vote beyond the people. If you talk about Western Kenya, if you talk about former ODM areas, Coast and Masaini, it will be a president directly owning that vote.
Okay, thank you. Bwana Kaguchia, your final comment on this. Too many moving objects?
What I would say is that the time has come that the election bureau is as good as long, and it's high time that the political parties must start strategizing themselves to galvanize and solidify their support. And I don't think there's anything wrong for what is happening in the house of the opposition. And I still believe that, in fact, on the other hand, the head of state is busy also looking for how to solidify the what we call the broad-based. And therefore, and I tell you what I would say is that we need to have a peaceful process of an election, and therefore what I would wish is to ask the state to provide what is necessary to the AIBC so that AIBC can prepare in good time elections and also back them with whatever necessary requires so that Kenyans can have a free, fair and viable election. If we get that, we are good to go.
All right. Finally, Bwana Mutambo.
Yes. Allow me to defect from our discussion today and talk about something which is of national interest, and especially people of Ukambani. I think we all remember that bridge which killed, where a bus plunged in and killed so many people. Actually, I lost very close relatives in that bridge. And we've been fighting for it to be done. And I can tell Kenyans and the people of Mwingi that yesterday we saw the light. Because for so long, there have been stories that the bridge will be done. We are waiting for, I don't know, beeps from China, from wherever. But I can confidently tell people of Mwingi that yesterday I witnessed the offloading of those beams. So the bridge will be done, and there is no need to fear, because we have been told there will be El Nino. Before next 2-3 weeks, people from Mwingi Central will be crossing that bridge. And it's a milestone to those people. And allow me to use this space to thank the president, because after my meeting with him 1 month ago, we can see something tangible, which we can be proud of. So, and I wish the same would happen to other areas in our country.
All right.
Thank you, Idimoli.
Asante sana, Joe Mutambo. Some positive news from Mwingi. Former MP Mwingi Central, James Kaguchia, MP Embakasi North, and Joshua Kipto, advocate of the High Court, are panelists today as we discussed issues around matters hate speech and having that MP under arrest. He'll be presented in court today. That's John Kaguchia of Mokuruene. What the NCIC and the other multi-agency teams are doing towards stemming the rise in cases of incitement and political intimidation as well. Thank you so much for having your time at TV47 today. After the break, we switch gears and talk matters media heading towards 2027, media democracy and 2027. Victor Bwire, Director Media Training and Development, Media Council of Kenya, will be here. Later on, I'll be having a different conversation on revolutionizing food and nutrition through tech. See you later. Good morning.